Okay, so get this. We're diving into the world of private military companies,
PMCs.
right? PMCs.
Hmm.
We're talking about the Wagner Group. And wow, the sources you sent on these guys,
Yeah.
it's wild. We've got like a hybrid COE working paper breaking down how they actually worked.
Mm.
Congressional testimony, like
Okay.
getting into their goals and the legal, what even are they issues they cause?
Yeah.
Reports from New America, the Congressional Research Service,
Wow.
RAND Corporation,
Right.
the Sufan Center,
Mm.
and even a research paper comparing them to other PMCs.
Right.
So our mission, I guess, today is to figure out how this group went from like a small band of fighters to this huge global force.
Right.
What do they even want?
Right.
And how do they all fall apart?
It's a crazy story, honestly. It's
Yeah.
like international intrigue, shady deals, tons of power struggles. And they went from this tiny little unit in 2014 to this massive network in 2023.
Wow.
Military, political, economic, you name it.
Hmm.
They had something like 35,000 to 45,000 fighters at their peak.
Jeez.
Made money off everything, oil, diamonds, gold, timber.
Really?
And they were both a state-backed force and a rogue entity. It's so weird.
Yeah, like a corporation, but with a lot more guns
Yeah.
and probably fewer PowerPoints.
Probably.
But before we get lost in all that, how did they even begin?
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
2014, Russia takes Crimea. Conflict breaks out in eastern Ukraine.
Right.
The Kremlin needs muscle, but deniable muscle.
Mhm.
Forces they can use without being directly linked to Moscow.
Enter the Wagner Group.
Exactly. A bunch of highly trained veterans, most with ties to Russian special forces.
Wow, so they were like mercenaries for hire.
Basically.
Yeah.
Need a discreet military operation, give us a call. Kinda.
But how did they go from those early gigs to becoming like global players?
Right, so it seems like a mix of strategy and seizing opportunities.
Hmm.
They were good at finding instability in power vacuums, especially where Western influence was fading.
Right.
Their first big overseas deployment was to Syria in 2015.
Oh,
Just when the Russian government officially got involved in the civil war there.
so they followed the Russian flag into Syria.
Yeah,
Yep.
basically, and
Yeah.
built quite a reputation for themselves.
Oh, I bet. I mean, PMCs aren't exactly known for being peacekeepers, are they?
Not really. They got known for ruthlessness and efficiency.
Okay.
They fought on the front lines and trained the Syrian army and local militias.
Wow.
Think of it as Combat 101 Wagner style.
Jeez. So they were fighting, training, and enjoying the Syrian sunshine
Yeah.
while advancing Russian interests?
Very subtly.
Yeah, very subtly.
Huh?
But their travels didn't end there, right?
Right.
Our sources mentioned the Central African Republic.
Gayar.
Yakar.
Oh,
That sounds like a whole other story.
it is. It all started with an agreement in 2017.
Mm.
Wagner would train and provide security personnel to the CAR president, Faustin Archange Touadera.
Okay, sounds pretty simple.
Right.
But this is the Wagner Group, so I'm sure it wasn't.
You know, by 2021, that training mission had become full-on combat.
Oh, wow.
They were planning and launching huge offensives,
Jeez.
operating independently with barely any oversight from the SAR government,
So like sending in a few personal trainers and they just take over the gym.
and start teaching self-defense with live ammo.
Yikes. Okay, so we've got Ukraine, Syria, CAR. Where to next?
Next stop, Madagascar,
Hmm.
where things get even crazier.
Oh, boy.
It turns out the Wagner Group likes to dabble in election meddling.
What?
Yeah. The 2018 Madagascar presidential election basically became Wagner's playground.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah. They used everything, propping up spoiler candidates,
Mhm.
smear campaigns with disinformation, and get this,
Fake election observers.
fake election observers.
Yeah.
It's like cheating at poker.
It is. They had this front organization called AFRIC
Okay.
pretending to be a think tank to push out fake exit polls.
Wow, that's sneaky.
Right?
So did it work?
Well, their first pick, the incumbent president, actually lost support and dropped out.
Oh.
Here's where Wagner's adaptability shines.
Okay.
They quickly switched to back the eventual winner, Andriy Rajoelina.
Oh, so they hedged their bets and still won. Pretty much. But there's a bigger plan here.
Right. It wasn't just about messing with Madagascar's election.
No. By supporting Rajoelina, Wagner got mining agreements and strengthened Russia's hold on the region.
So it was all strategic.
Totally.
Wow. They're playing 4D chess while everyone else is stuck with checkers.
Yeah.
But all that success couldn't hide the problems brewing back home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our sources mention this tension between Wagner's leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin
Right.
and the Russian military.
Right.
What was going on there?
Well, Prigozhin wasn't just a military guy.
Okay.
He was a businessman and a master of getting his name out there.
Hmm.
He built power outside the normal military structure and wasn't afraid to call them out.
Oh, really?
Like, imagine a contractor publicly bashing the architect while still working on the building.
Bold move.
Very. And it all came to a head in June 2023.
Right. The mutiny.
Yeah, that shocked everyone.
I bet Putin was not happy.
I'm sure. It was insane. Prigozhin took over military stuff in Rostov-on-Don
Jeez.
and started marching towards Moscow. He called it a march for justice.
Yeah.
Said he was only going after corrupt leaders, not Putin. But come on. Challenging the Russian military is asking for trouble.
Yeah, big time. And trouble he got. So how did it all end?
It fizzled out pretty quickly, actually.
Really?
Yeah. The Belarusian president, Alexander Lukashenko, got involved.
What?
I know, right? He brokered a deal, and Prigozhin went into exile.
Wow. What a mess.
Total mess. And then 2 months later,
Boy,
Prigozhin dies in a plane crash.
crazy. How does that even happen?
It's a whole other story. But what's clear is that the mutiny was the beginning of the end for Wagner.
Right.
The Russian government shut them down, took some units into the regular army, and scattered the rest.
It was a wild ride for them.
It really was. So we've seen their rise, their tactics, their power plays, and their fall.
Yeah, a real roller coaster.
Yeah.
But the question is, how do you stop something like that?
Good question. Traditional methods don't really work.
Why not?
They were designed to be slippery, operating in the shadows and using legal loopholes.
So, like trying to catch a ghost?
Pretty much. But there are some ideas. One is to treat them like a dark network.
A dark network.
Yeah, like a spider web. Each strand is a part of their operation finances logistics recruitment.
Okay, so you disrupt the web.
Exactly. You target key parts of it simultaneously to cause systemic shock.
Smart. But that takes a lot of intel, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And coordination between countries, which is always tricky.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what's the solution?
Well, some experts think we need a multinational body.
Like a Wagner hunting squad.
Exactly. They could investigate their activities, gather evidence of crimes,
Yeah.
and share intel between countries because this is a global issue.
Right. You can't just play whack-a-mole with these guys.
No way. And it's not just about military and legal stuff either.
Right.
They were great at propaganda and disinformation too.
So how do you heat that?
You expose their lies, highlight their atrocities, and offer different narratives. It's a battle for hearts and minds.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes a lot.
But even though the Wagner Group is gone, their legacy lives on, right?
It does. If they could do it, others will try.
So what should we be watching for?
Look for copycats. See how governments react, whether they try to regulate the industry or just use it for themselves.
It's a dangerous game.
Very. And keep an eye on those gray areas where states and non-state actors mix. That's where things get really messy.
Yeah, it's like they were just working for Russia. They were competing with them,
Right, exactly.
calling out the military, poaching their soldiers. That's crazy.
Wow, like imagine a subcontractor telling the main contractor they suck and then trying to steal their workers.
Total chaos.
It really is, and it undermines the whole system.
Right.
Soldiers see PMCs making bank off war while they're risking their lives for a regular salary.
Yeah, it's got to breed some resentment.
Definitely. It can destabilize a country from the inside out.
So Wagner's story isn't just about one rogue group. It's like a cautionary tale
Absolutely.
about the dangers of blurring the lines between states and these private actors.
Yeah, once you open that door, it's hard to close it.
And then there's the whole ethical side of it.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about privatized violence profit mixed with military operations
Right. It's a moral and legal minefield.
that the world is still trying to figure out.
Totally.
I feel like we started this deep dive wanting to understand Wagner, but now we're talking about the future of war and the rise of these shadowy groups. It's kind of scary, honestly.
Yeah, deep dives can do that.
Right.
Take you to unexpected places, make you face uncomfortable truths.
And the truth is the world is changing.
It is.
And how we think about conflict has to change too.
Absolutely.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What should they be watching for?
I'd say keep an eye out for copycats.
Copycats.
Yeah, if Wagner could do it, others will try.
Right.
And watch how governments react.
Okay.
Do they regulate the industry or just use it for themselves?
It's a high-stakes game for sure.
It is. And pay attention to those gray zones.
The gray zones.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
states and non-state actors mix. That's where things get really dangerous.
Right, like a whole new kind of battlefield.
Exactly.
Well, that's a lot to think about.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of PMCs. and the legacy of the Wagner Group.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's a story that's both fascinating and unsettling.
Definitely.
A reminder that the future of conflict is probably going to be even more complex, unpredictable, and dangerous
I think so.
than anything we've seen before. So until next time, stay curious, stay informed.
Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe. And maybe keep a little skepticism handy because things are getting a lot more complicated out there.